It's 4:30 on WKYT this morning. There are new details in the investigation of a pregnant woman's death in Lexington.
Hear why the U.S. Attorney General says prosecuting is not the answer in the fight against heroin in Kentucky.
And a Lexington man accused of scamming businesses is behind bars. What was his plan? That and your weather forecast on WKYT this morning.
This is WKYT This Morning.
Good morning to you, and it's so good to have you on WKYT bright and early as we get things underway in the middle of the week now. I'm Bill Bryant.
And I'm Andrea Walker. It is Wednesday, September 21st. It is the last day of summer.
Last full day.
Tomorrow marks fall. But you know what? It's not going to feel like it.
Not at all. We're talking about 90s the next few days, or 90 or so. Let's check in. Meteorologist Micah Harris is on duty. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, that is the focus, as we're going to see closing in on 90 degrees today, tomorrow, and off towards your Friday, before we see a blasting cold front this weekend that'll knock temperatures down at least for Sunday. Temperatures right now in the 50s and 60s. Pretty good feel once again this morning. And then we head toward the afternoon, 87. That's pretty much where we were yesterday. So it's going to be another carbon copy of a day as we look towards your afternoon. Now, as we head toward the next few days, it's really about the heat. But the good news is humidity is down still. I'll show you when we start to get some moisture in here. I'll show you when we actually have at least a chance of rain. That's coming up in a few minutes.
All right, we'll see you in a bit, and we thank you. In the news, we have some newly released information about the shooting death of Mariah Coleman. The pregnant woman was gunned down while walking her dog nearly 2 weeks ago in Lexington's Winburn neighborhood.
Doctors delivered her baby but couldn't save the infant or the mother. Now police are releasing new details about the investigation, including the description of a man seen running from the area on the night of the shooting. WKYT's Monique Blair has the story.
Lexington police say they believe Mariah Coleman was an innocent bystander when she was shot while out walking her dog about 2 weeks ago. Now, Mariah Coleman's family says they hope this new information means an arrest will soon be made.
The mother deserves to know whether it was an accident, whether it was on purpose. The mother deserves to know.
It has been a tough couple of weeks for Perry Wooldridge and his family as they try and understand why 22-year-old Mariah Coleman, who was 8 months pregnant, was shot in her back, while police say she was not the intended target.
We're always going to have that void there because, we're not going to be able to get her back. We're not going to be able to know what baby Jacoby's, his first steps. We're not going to be able to see those.
According to police, witnesses say shortly after the shooting there was a young black man with dreadlocks who had a cast on his arm seen running from the scene after the shooting. A gun was also found near that scene and has been sent off for testing to determine if it's related to the case. Wooldridge believes police are going to catch the killer soon.
As these weeks pass, as these days pass, as these hours pass, they're not going to have long to hide in the shadows or to creep around. It's justice is coming.
Now again, Lexington police have not named any suspects in this case, but they are asking for anyone who may know anything about what happened the night Mariah Coleman was shot to come forward. In Lexington, Monique Blair, WKYT.
Police believe multiple people were involved in this incident, but right now they're only looking for one person specifically. They're also still trying to figure out how the shooting started in the first place.
A retired law officer is facing sex abuse charges in Woodford County. Versailles police arrested 76-year-old Donald Drury. According to his arrest citation, Drury is a retired Kentucky vehicle enforcement officer. Drury is accused of touching himself inappropriately in front of a 14-year-old boy. Versailles police say at least 3 incidents were documented on a calendar in Drury's home. Drury is also accused of having oral sex with a 15-year-old boy and recording it on his phone.
A Powell County family says their son was just doing the job he loved when tragedy struck. A tow truck driver died after he was hit Monday along the Mountain Parkway in Powell County. The sheriff's office says Mark Banks was on the side of the road loading a car when the crash happened. Logan Banks tells us his stepson was always careful.
He wore his vest after dark. He done everything by the book. He wasn't only my stepson, he was my best friend.
Banks had just taken over the business from his father a few years ago. He leaves behind 2 daughters. The driver who hit Banks is still recovering in the hospital. We have an update on a Lexington man who was pinned between two trucks on New Circle Road last week. Lyle Adams' wife tells us he went through major surgery Monday to repair his pelvis. She says surgeons at UK Hospital are pleased and the family is taking everything day by day. Lyle Adams was in charge of Shuffle Bean Coffee in Lexington and was near the end of his training for an Ironman competition. It is a public health crisis. Heroin overdoses are skyrocketing in many states, including right here in Kentucky.
And those on the front lines of the fight against heroin heard from the U.S. Attorney General. Loretta Lynch spoke with police, medical professionals, and some community leaders over at UK. As Garrett Weimer reports, Lynch said change will take more than just talking about the problem.
In her speech at UK, U.S. Attorney General Loretta Lynch called opioid and heroin abuse a scourge and an epidemic.
We are focusing our enforcement efforts on this problem because we have to stop the pipeline of poison into our communities.
Lynch says there isn't just one way to fight it, needing enforcement, prevention, and treatment.
We cannot prosecute our way out of this problem because in so many cases, it isn't trafficking rings that introduce a person to opioids. It's the household medicine cabinet.
In a panel discussion after the Attorney General spoke, Lexington Police Chief Mark Barnard said his department has assigned 2 more detectives solely to heroin cases and overdoses, as well as working with drug users' families.
We have to have a holistic approach. There has to be an educational component for children. They have to be aware of really what's happening. This, if you think about it, in the last 4 years, this has hit us pretty quick.
Officials agree the stakes are high as more people die from overdoses every day.
This is a fight that we have to win because this is not a problem that we can live with. This is not a problem that we can tolerate. This is a problem that must be solved.
Attorney General Lynch told the crowd it's a problem that will be solved. In Lexington, Garrett Weimer, WKYT.
And Lynch says that in 2015, 1,200 Kentuckians died from drug overdoses, nearly 15% of an increase from 2014. And before speaking at UK, Attorney General Lynch spoke at Madison Central High School in Richmond about the dangers of addiction. 600 students from Madison Central, Madison Southern, and Richmond Model attended that discussion. There have been 30 overdose deaths so far this year in Madison County. There are growing calls for justice in Oklahoma after the police shooting of an unarmed black man. Protesters took to the streets of Tulsa, calling for the officer involved to face charges. CBS's Don Champion has the latest.
Fire! Fire!
Protesters in Tulsa, Oklahoma demanded justice Tuesday night in the Terrence Crutcher case.
We can no longer be silent. No. We can no longer sleep.
Many called his death proof of a systemic problem with police use of deadly force. Crutcher was killed Friday by Officer Betty Shelby as she responded to his stalled SUV. Video from police shows he had his hands in the air before he was killed. Officer Shelby's attorney claims Crutcher was shot when he reached in his vehicle.
He looks at her and his left hand breaks the plane of where the window would be as if he's reaching in. And at that time, she fired one shot. She was in fear of her life.
But attorneys for Crutcher's family challenged that claim Tuesday. They maintain these stills from the video show Crutcher's window was up.
How could he be reaching into the car if the window is up and there's blood on the glass?
Tulsa police say they found a vial of the drug PCP in Crutcher's SUV after the shooting. The Justice Department is investigating. Don Champion, CBS News, Dallas.
And another officer used a taser on Crutcher seconds before he was shot. The officer who opened fire is now on paid leave.
Federal prosecutors have now charged a man with planting a series of bombs in New York and New Jersey. Ahmed Khan Rahami faces 4 counts, including use of a weapon of mass destruction. Rahami was captured Monday after being wounded in a gunfight with police. Investigators say Rahami planted 2 bombs in Manhattan Saturday night. One went off, injuring 31 people. Another bomb exploded in New Jersey, and more explosives were found in a trash bin by a train station. A Perry County family is without a home this morning after fire burned theirs to the ground. The fire started around 5:30 yesterday evening in the Viper community. Firefighters were quick on the scene but ran into a roadblock.
They almost had it under control and they ran out of water. And the water hydrant, they said the city had the water hydrants turned off.
Now, the assistant fire chief says he's not sure why the hydrant was turned off. The family of 4 does have insurance. No word yet on what caused the fire.
A man accused of trying to scam Lexington businesses out of money is in jail. Police have arrested Kenneth Roth on theft charges unrelated to the scam. Police say he recently went to several businesses in town and told them he was collecting money for various charities, including United Way of the Bluegrass. United Way's president told us his organization does not go door to door for donations.
We have workplace campaigns. So we actually meet with a group of employees. We don't meet with employees on a single or individual basis. So it's extremely difficult, almost impossible for someone to fraudulently take money from United Way.
Police don't think that Roth received any money from his soliciting. WKYT This Morning is just getting started. Sure is good to have you with us here on this Wednesday morning. We have more news on the way.
Coming up, are you absolutely sure your child's bike helmet fits properly? We'll show you a quick test to find out, coming up in Moms Every Day.
It's all about the temperatures the next few days as we see those warming conditions. We're going to go over how high we go and also look at those weekend changes. That's coming up next.
Now, your hour-by-hour forecast with meteorologist Micah Harris.
59 right now in Perry County, and then as you work northbound into, say, Danville, we're at 59 degrees. Harlan coming in at 61. And you can see across the way, we're in the upper 50s, lower 60s. It's another good feel early this morning. All the roadways, I'm hearing of no issues early this morning. Frankfort looks pretty good across 421. Lexington, Winchester Road 75, all as well. Go back toward Moorhead and the Sharkey community and also Farmers exit. That's where we're seeing pretty good looking conditions. All looks well down south in Corbin too across 75. 87 by the afternoon, and we're having a couple of clouds here and there. It's going to be exactly the same as what we saw yesterday. A couple spots during the morning hours, maybe a little fog. But other than that, it's the afternoon, 87, low humidity. 87 yesterday really wasn't that bad. And that's the way it's going to be today and tomorrow. However, you get towards your Friday, and then we'll start to get some moisture streaming on in here, and that'll give us the opportunity to kind of feel that heat because we'll be at 90 degrees on Friday and then looking for that moisture. So here comes the moisture streaming on in. Still looks like it's going to be dry, though, as we continue to travel off through the next 48 to 72 hours. So that warm air comes on in. Watch as we go through your Thursday and into Friday. Friday, you'll see temperatures right there around 90 degrees, and that goes for everybody. That's not just the western zones. That goes for the eastern zones as well, upper 80s to lower 90s. So dry each and every single day, and that allows us to bump up those temperatures each and every single day, too. Going throughout your next 7 days, here's the breakdown, and you can see it all throughout your weekend. There you go. The cold front arrives this weekend, and this weekend, even though the cold front is here, it doesn't have a lot of moisture to work with, meaning don't expect a lot of rain there in the forecast there on Saturday. So for the most part, we are looking pretty good there as we head off towards your weekend, even into next week. And I told you guys on Monday, next week looks like the better opportunity for fall, the fall feel. Not so much this week. And here we go. You look next week, 79 on Sunday, roughly 80 degrees on Monday. And then we get another shot at cooler air on Tuesday. Look at your high on Tuesday. 74 degrees.
That's more like it.
That's more like it because typically we're around 76, so it's getting there.
Well, it's not being missed by much. You know?
Not much.
A day or two run over of summer
That's
is
right.
all it looks like we're going to have. Thank you, Micah. 4:46 is our time on WKYT this morning. Bike helmets can save your child's life in an accident.
But if it doesn't fit properly, the helmet may not do its job. In today's Mom's Everyday Minute, we have a quick test on your helmet knowledge.
Just strapping on a bike helmet before a ride is only part of the process of keeping kids safe on two wheels. Safe Kids Coalition has a bike helmet fit test to check helmet safety, and it only takes a few seconds. First, check the eyes. The helmet should be no more than 2 fingers above the eyes. Next, the ears. The strap should make a V under the ears. And finally, the mouth. Make sure the helmet is snug when the mouth is open. Your child's helmet should also meet the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission standards. And remember, kids are watching you. Parents should wear a helmet too, even if you didn't wear one as a kid. When it's time for a new helmet, let kids pick their own. They'll be more likely to use it if they like the design. For more ways to make mom's life easier, visit momseveryday.com. I'm Taryn Vanderford.
For these tips and more, just go to WKYT.com and click on Moms Every Day.
And right there, you'll also find all the latest news and the updated weather as well. And we're with you all the time there at WKYT.com. Hey, it's good to have you with us on air this morning. Here we are on your Wednesday.
When we come back on WKYT this morning, Samsung is getting ready to release its replacement phones for the Galaxy Note 7. Find out when after the break.
Good morning. Welcome back in. WKYT this morning on the air. We're hitting 4:51 right now. And a fundraiser is going to be held this weekend to help the family of a gas station clerk who was shot during a robbery.
The shooting happened Saturday night at the Marathon on Lansdowne Road. 49-year-old veteran Charles Moore is still at UK Hospital recovering from several gunshot wounds. Customers tell us he was more than a clerk.
It's like something's missing because he's not there to joke with you. He's not there to talk to you. He listens to you too. If something's going on, he's concerned. He listens to you, and now we're concerned for him.
The fundraiser will be held at the Marathon Station Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. All proceeds will go to help pay Moore's medical bills. Police have not made any arrests in the shooting.
Police are investigating a shooting in eastern Kentucky in the community, and they may have a break in the case. It's all thanks to a wrong number and a bizarre voicemail.
He dials the number by mistake, and the lady didn't answer the phone, and he left a voice message, and he identified himself and identified who the person he shot.
The Williamsburg woman who received the voicemail went to police. The number was tracked back to Leslie County. Deputies there are working a shooting from Sunday. The victim was shot in the foot. Investigators are now taking the voicemail confession to a grand jury to decide if charges will be filed. People who live along a busy stretch of highway in Scott County want some changes after a deadly crash. A woman died Friday on US 25 north of Georgetown near Moon Lake Estates. Her car collided with two garbage trucks. Neighbors say the road is too small for the big trucks, and close calls are daily occurrences.
The worst part is coming around the curves, because you never know. I mean, I've almost been hit, I don't know how many times.
The sheriff says he plans to talk to the mayor and to the judge executive about the road concerns. It's a state road, so any changes to speed limits or expansion would have to go through Frankfort first.
Replacements of Samsung's Galaxy Note 7 will be available today. Regulators recalled the smartphone last week after dozens of reports of phones catching fire while charging. Samsung suspended sales of the phone earlier this month. The fires were traced back to a battery problem. Replacement phones will be available at most retail locations.
Well, coming up next, we'll have a look at some of the stories our team is working on for you this morning.
And we'll also have another look at your morning forecast. Fall is on the way. Coming up.
Well, good morning. Welcome into WKYT this morning. It's 4:56 on your Wednesday, and we're glad you're up and at it with us.
It's a good time now to take a look at some of the stories we're working on for you this morning.
Coming right up, a police shooting in Charlotte, North Carolina of a black man sitting in his car has sparked violent protests. We'll have the latest update on the damage that's been done in that city in North Carolina and why protesters are so angry. That's coming up shortly.
And a Lexington police cruiser was hit by a stolen car overnight. Now police are looking for the people responsible. We'll have it all coming up at the top of the hour on WKYT this morning.
It is a hot ending to summer over the next day or so. Let's check in with meteorologist Micah Harris.
Yeah, here comes that heat we've been talking about the past few days. Temperatures are in the lower 60s, some in the upper 50s. It's a pretty good feel once you travel out and about early this morning, walking out the front door. Pretty nice start. Could there be a little patchy fog? Yeah, it's possible, but for the most part, we're looking good and staying dry. By the afternoon, we'll be right there around 87 degrees. It's pretty much where we ended up yesterday, and that's where we're going to be again today. Now, we'll actually get a little bit warmer than that off towards your Thursday, which is your first day of fall, into your Friday. Friday night football, absolutely no problems. It's going to be a little bit warm, but for the most part, we're looking good. And then towards your weekend, here comes a blasting cold front, and these temperatures will be long gone there for at least latter part of your weekend. I'm going to show you that coming up with another 2 hours of WKYT News. If you're taking off, have a great morning.